Okay, when I prepared this, I was just kind of prepared to kind of talk through our food recycling project, but based on the fact that all of you are potentially looking at various types of recycling, I'm going to kind of weave in some of what Jean said with the 10 steps. That's primarily what we do all the time. Even though we're a very large business, I think these concepts apply to every single project, large or small. So I think, we can kind of collaborate. So with that, I'm going to take you through who's Publix. I surely hope everybody in this room knows who Publix is, but just in case you don't, I will be happy to introduce us to you. Why do we seek an organic diversion program? Composting, animal feed, how do we do training at Publix, and what are some options? So let me just kind of start. We were founded in 1930. We operate in 6 states. As of today, we have 1,100 open stores. That's a big deal at Publix. We have 9 distribution facilities and 7 manufacturing plants. So I started at Publix over 33 years ago at Store 1 in Winter Haven. And the first thing I would tell you is it's really kind of a state of mind. Recycling, just doing the right thing is the state of mind. So I think you're going to kind of see how we do that across the board. So just kind of a show of hands, do I have any Publix customers here? Okay, good. Shoo. All right. Okay, so why do we participate? I guess the first thing I would start with is Mr. George, who founded Publix in 1930. He always said, and he was alive, I'm not very young anymore, but I'm the youngest that actually got to work with him. And Mr. George used to say, we're in the people business, we just happen to sell groceries. And I think that kind of philosophy resonates all through the waste reduction and turning trash into cash, all the right things. It boils down to people, planet, and profit. So what's good for our people? I heard a common theme through this morning that it has to be easy, so we have to make it easy for people to recycle. It's obviously good for our planet, and we do always have to think about the impact to our planet. Sometimes we might try to recycle something, but then we have to ship it 5,000 miles to have it recycled. That's probably not as green as you think it is. So kind of looking at the big picture, and then if all those things fall into place, it's probably really good for your profit as well. At Publix, our mission statement, the 2 objectives here that I would just call out is we're intolerant of waste. If you're a customer at Publix, I'm thinking that you're sitting there going, you better be intolerant of waste because it affects the cost of your groceries, right? So if I pay attention to the cost of garbage, if I'm trying to turn trash into cash, I can at least manage the cost from rising in our groceries. And then involved responsible citizens in our communities. Miriam brought up about private-public partnerships. Every one of the bullets that she had up there, we're involved. We were the first grocery chain in South Carolina that did the composting. We've worked with Palm Beach County. I see a ton of counties in here. We are committed to you from a curbside recycling. We don't want people's paper, plastic, or styrofoam if the cities can manage it and make some money. We want to be Plan B. We want you to think of Publix as that's where I go to get groceries. We're in the grocery business. But we also know that we want to do the right thing. So we lead by example, and we figured out that that was the right thing to do decades ago. So this isn't really new at Publix, but I just want you to know that we're very committed. We've partnered with St. Lucie County, Indian River, Palm Beach County, and fixing to partner with Collier County on ads and commercials that educate your folks to put plastic bags into, bring them back to a retailer, particularly Publix, since we recycle that, rather than it go into your bins if you don't accept them because of it tearing up your equipment. How many of you have a bag problem? Okay. So you may be one of those counties that we're already working with. If not, if there's something that we can do to partner together to educate the folks in your county, we would love to help. Okay, so moving right along to organic recycling, we talked about composting, and we do compost. I mentioned that we are in 6 states, so we have 11 suppliers or vendors, haulers, whatever you want to call them, that actually come get our food waste. About half of them are doing some sort of composting. In South Carolina, there's 2 different outfits that do composting, one in North Carolina. The 2 very large ones in the state of Florida that Waste Management has invested in supports the large majority of our Florida operations. And then we have some smaller ones in Pinellas County and Polk County and Hillsborough County. We have a smaller company that manages composting for our stores. But it takes, honestly, it takes everyone everywhere to try to figure out how to make it cost effective. So this is just a picture. Actually, this was in South Carolina at the county landfill or county composting center. And they actually started that composting facility as an issue because they had so much yard waste from Hurricane Hugo. Does anybody remember Hurricane Hugo? What year was that? Nobody? Crickets? Miriam, what year was that? It's 89. I was Publix's crisis manager then. So it was in 1989. And so if you think about how many years that has been, what, 28 years, somewhere in that neighborhood, they still have so much yard waste from that hurricane and the destruction that they still don't know what to do or how to do it. So that's what made them create this composting. So you may have other kind of drivers in your counties that may, or you might have multiple counties where you could even partner together based on whatever issues you're trying to resolve. All right, composting, we've been talking about that. This is just an example of, here they are, they dump our food waste into a particular area and then they mix it and put it in the lines. I'm trying to think of even what the name of that is. Windrows. That's it, windrows. And then some of the folks that we work with, they do the windrows completely different. Some of them are covered, some of them are inside, some of them are outside. So you have all kinds of technologies out there. And then their return on investment is completely different as well. Animal feed, a large portion of what we divert goes to animal feed. But the training is the same with one exception. So if I'm composting, obviously I can take any kind of scraps that I want to remove from the produce department, and I also can take the floral department. But when the feed actually goes to dairy cows, we can't include floral because it makes them gassy. So we have to be careful about that. Some of these options do not work at Publix. So if you look at the top left-hand corner, that's the option that we use, and those are the toters. And we line the toters in our produce departments. We separate as we're cutting up the fruit. If you guys are falling asleep or you want to watch a really good YouTube, do a search on watermelon cutter at Publix, and you'll get to see how they cut up the watermelon chunks. And it in like 2 minutes. It's unbelievable. I'm pretty sure it wasn't authorized, but in any case, it did make it out there, and it's really kind of cool. But when you look at those rinds, so if you think about a truckload of watermelon, all right, so a truckload of watermelon, approximately 22 or 24 pallets positions full of watermelon. Now you think about this guy who's cutting up all the watermelon. What do you have left? 2/3 of that truck and the rinds, that's what you have left. So that's going to one of your landfills, or it's going to the animal feed, or it's going to composting. So when I think about us being a waste generator, a lot of times that term is indicative of, you know, we're doing something wrong, like we're cooking a lot of product that we shouldn't be cooking. But sometimes it's just the nature of the beast. Whether you cut up the watermelon or we cut up the watermelon, we're both going to generate some waste. So it's not always that bad. But we do the toters in the top left-hand corner. The one across from that is a larger toter. I have a couple of our competitors that use that. The difference in labor for me is my folks can use the toters while they're in production, put it into the cooler, and then when the composter comes to pick it up, they roll it out, they dump it, they clean it, they take it back in. This other model, the 1.5 yard plastic cart, it's the same thing. So now I have to pick it up, I have to take it out there. So the labor is just as much as if I went and put it in the compactor. So you kind of lose the incentive for the associate to want to do something different. Then you have a larger toter, and it's lifted up. Well, actually, I think the top right hand, that's being emptied into the truck on the bottom left hand. And then lastly, you also have the roll-off sludge containers. So some of you might agree with me that when you go into some of our competitors, it might not smell the same as Publix. And one of the reasons why is because we protect your shopping experience. We don't want it to smell bad, because if you don't want to work there, they don't want to shop there. But sometimes I have shopped competition and said, oh my gosh, it smells bad in here. And if it smells bad, it's probably my team's fault. So either something's gone awry where we haven't removed something properly in the meat department or in the produce department, or maybe the garbage hauler hasn't been on schedule the way they should. But again, my goal is to stay in the grocery business. My goal is to make sure you have a pleasant shopping experience. So all the things that we do, everything that you're doing in this room, has to make sure that it adds to the value of that experience and not takes away. Okay, training at Publix. Oops. The real cool thing about training at Publix is we kind of do training the same way, no matter if you've been promoted to the director of our facilities, or if you're a tow motor driver in the DC, or if you're a cashier. So when I roll out training, it's exactly the same. So how we present it, the tools that we use, how it's documented, where you would find it online, how we would post it in there, all those things, how we test, how we add it to the job class training, all of that's exactly the same. So my job is much easier than other people. If you're cities and counties and you're working with other companies, they might not have that type of structure and organization. So what I have seen with some cities and counties, I've actually helped them create training materials just based on, I have a training department, I have a print shop. So sometimes I can work with you and kind of help you pull that together, give you some examples of the signage that we use, and then that can help move you forward. So again, this is all about organics. There's another layer of organics diversion that we continue to look at, and it's anaerobic digestion. So in some cases, an anaerobic digester, if you look at the picture that's on the top right-hand side, that's a unit that can be at a store, but we've not found a return where we can actually do that. So adding equipment to the store, and now we're taking an associate away from serving you, whether it be in the deli or on the front end or whatever. Now they're managing garbage at the store. So we've not done that. Some of these machines, I've watched the technology turn over in about 3 or 4 years. And so some of these machines in the beginning used a substantial amount of water and energy. Now they're not using as much water or energy. So I'm actually looking at 1 or 2 that Publix may end up piloting in the next year or 2. The first 2 or 3 generations of these machines, the downtime was horrendous, but now I'm starting to see a little bit of a different return. And then, following me speaking, I'm not sure if John or Kelly's behind me, but Kelly, who represents Harvest Power, that's kind of one of these machines on steroids, where they're actually making all kinds of things, and she's gonna kind of talk about that. So what I think we've learned at Publix is, while these machines may make sense if you have a large manufacturer in your county or something like that, but an individual 1,100 stores at Publix, I think I'd rather have people like Kelly in business so that we can feed something centrally and we can work together to make that community and that project more profitable. So that's not really something that I see for the individual, but I don't know, we're still pursuing some of that. And then the bottom is that anaerobic digester that was in South Florida that, again, some of those folks are taking our product and they're making soil amendment. My team is over waste reduction, recycling, but we're also over water conservation and energy conservation. So the soil amendment that comes out of these machines are amazing. So if you do have an opportunity to study some of this and you can implement this in your cities and counties, I can tell you the benefits are just phenomenal. All right, well, that's about it about organics, and it looks like this is about all y'all can take at this moment.
Yeah, that's great.